Hi everyone. In this set of slides, I'm going to go over basic Unix commands and relate them to the rest of the Java that we'll be using. So I'll just show you basically the setup that I have for how we're working. I did modify these slides from somebody named James Holton. You can check out his original slides and his website if you like. So first of all, if you have Git Bash properly working on your computer, you should be able to open a Git Bash window that looks vaguely like the one I have up top. Another way to get a Git Bash window is through VS Code. So you can actually open up a VS Code window and you can open up a terminal. You should be able to use Control plus Shift plus the backtick, and that should be able to open up a terminal for you. If you are in Mac, it will also look the same. In Mac, or if you have a Unix computer, you can just open up the terminal, and it looks more or less like the Git Bash, so you can make those same analogies and figure out what we're doing. The commands that we are using will be the same regardless. I want to zoom in on VS Code to just show you something tricky about how it works. So when you open up this terminal, it's probably going to actually give you a PowerShell terminal, but you want to have a Bash terminal. You need to click on the little arrow that's to the right of the plus sign, which gives you all the options for the kinds of terminals that you can open. And you need to ensure that the one you open is a Git Bash. If you have that open, then it will be selected and that's what you'll be typing in. That's what's going to ensure that all the commands work the same way as they will on Unix and on a Mac. So with that in mind, hopefully you have your terminal open. You can just start practicing and I'll start telling you what things mean. Now, first of all, there are some symbols associated to Unix, and these are a few of them. The one that you really need to take away for today is called tilde. Tilde indicates your home directory. If you're on Unix, it's /home/your name. If you are on a Mac, it's going to be like users, your name, and then if you are on Windows, there should be like a C symbol in front of there, which is what mine is going to look like because the examples that I'll give you are from my Windows computer. And you are welcome to pause this slide and read what the others are. They are not going to be super important for this particular lesson. Now, in order to understand directories or folders in a computer, I'm going to jump way back in time to the upright filing cabinet. So you imagine that you have this clerk and you send her to go open a drawer that says documents in there. And inside documents, there's another folder. And inside that folder, there is a letter. That's what you're asking her to retrieve. That's basically the same thing that you're doing when you use a computer. So the computer, though, will store things in a hierarchical manner. So we need to talk a little bit more about what the file tree looks like for a computer, and that will help you understand how files are organized on a computer and therefore how to find them. Rather than having a clerk, you're going to have a command line interface. You're going to type in your commands into the terminal, and it works kind of similarly to how the GUI works. If you have a Windows computer, you might use Explorer to navigate around, to find documents, to check your downloads, to delete files. The same thing in Mac also exists. So on Windows it's called Explorer, on Mac it's called Finder, and the point is that you can use that to do a lot of things with your files. Now, a command line interface will do all the same things, but is way more powerful. It gives you a lot more abilities to do certain processes. And that is basically the start of what we are doing here today. Now, if you have your terminal open, it should look vaguely like this, right? So you'll have your username, @ and the host, and then it'll tell you what directory you're in. So if you saw my git bash examples from earlier, it actually showed my name and what the name of my computer was and where I was. Yours will look slightly different, obviously, because your name is different, your computer's name is different, where you are is different. But it should have this format of username, @host, and then working directory, and then a cursor that tells you where you are prompted to type in commands. So now that we have this analogy towards sending a clerk to our filing cabinet, and we know that we're going through the terminal, let's understand what a directory is. Directories are places that you put files. So the way that things are represented, it gives you kind of a map to where you're going. You start at home, and then your name / whatever is where that file, whatever is placed. Windows is going to use a / instead of a /, and on Mac they are called folders instead of directories. Now, one thing to point out, I'm using home, and home is a keyword that's going to be more related to Linux, but on your Windows computer, it's probably going to be users, and on Mac as well. So now that we have this analogy of a clerk that you are sending to go find a file, and I've told you what the terminal looks like, let's look at what the paths in your computer will look like. At the very top, you have what's called the root, and this is where all things start. Now, inside that, you would have more directories or folders. So one could be called home, another one could be called settings. You probably have documents, applications, things like that in there. And let's say you're sitting at home. Now, relative to being at home, you can just access user 1 because it's inside the folder that you are looking at anyway. So you can just say, oh, just give me user 1. I'm going to do some commands and I'm just directly going to access user 1. On the other hand, you may refer to things using an absolute path, which means you start again at the root. Then the root is just this / and the first directory that you have down from there is home. And home also points to user 2. So you can basically follow this whole tree down to refer to the whole thing of home user 2. Because if you are inside, if you are somewhere else, then this would always let you access this. So this is what's called an absolute path. So this is going to be useful when you're doing kind of your finding, like just navigating throughout your files. You might want to use relative paths to get somewhere relative to where you are, or you might just want to take the direct route to a certain file. So here are some special file names. / as I mentioned, is just the root. Tilde is going to be your home directory, and that's usually something like, I think it's going to be users and then your name. Dot, so just like period, is going to be the current working directory. And .. moves you one directory above. Okay, this might not make sense quite yet, and it hopefully will make more sense as we go through the different commands that you can do on a terminal. To be able to navigate within your file system, within the tree, you first need to know where you are. On a previous slide, I said you were sitting at home. So if you were to type in pwd, it would actually give you home. pwd means print the name of the current working directory, which is your location. It's kind of like you're in the filing cabinet now. Now, if you know where you are, you can navigate to anywhere else you need to be. Now, once you are navigated to a certain directory, you can actually see what all those files or other directories are in that folder. You could just type in ls. So with ls, it'll list all the files that are in there. And one thing I guess I want to point out, ls will list the contents of the current working directory. You can also do ls of any directory you like. So here's an ls that is listing things from a different directory where it's set by the absolute path. And of course, you can also do ls dot, that would list the contents of the current working directory. And you could do ls dot dot, which would give you the contents of the directory above. So please do give it a shot. Just list out those contents and see if it's giving you the thing that you kind of expect. And does it match the GUI? Just does it match your Finder or Explorer? Now you need to navigate around, so you can use CD to do that. So in your terminal, if you type in CD dot, that just keeps you in the same place. CD dot dot will move you above one more. So you can do CD just to stay in the same place. This moves you one above. And one thing that's going to be probably pretty useful for you is CD with a tilde, which always takes you back to your home. Yeah. If you are confused about any of the commands, then you can use man. So in your terminal, just type in man ls, and it will give you output for how the ls command works. You can type in man for any other command there is. I have a couple of examples here. You can even do man, which is to read the manual for the manual. If you are uncomfortable with using the terminal and you want a little bit more practice, Terminus is a really nice game that is in the browser, and it's there to get you used to the basic commands. It does not have everything that the Unix system could have, but it will get you more comfortable with things like CD and ls and pwd. And in fact, the game itself will prompt you with those commands, and it's literally just there to get you some mechanical practice to understand what's going on. A few more. MV moves or renames a file. So if you named a file something and you thought, oh, I don't like that name, you can do MV, the starting name, to the better name. So it's always MV from to. MV space from space to. Now, that changes the name and it keeps it in the same directory that you were already in. So these are relative accesses. You can, of course, access files by their absolute file path. So you can take a file and you can move it to a different directory in this way. Okay? mkdir creates a new directory. So just mkdir my folder, whatever you want to name it, will create a folder in the location that you are in. Now you can cd into my folder. If you do ls, it will show you that that folder is empty. There's one more experiment that I want you to try. Once you have made my folder, and go back and cd into the original place that you were in, so cd into the parent, and do ls. You should find that whatever ls lists, it is also now going to include my folder because you just created it. Right? So basically, we're just creating a new directory or new folder. This is equivalent to if you were in the GUI to in Explorer, you were going to do File, New Folder, and then name it My Folder. Copy. CP. Copy is just like move, except it does not delete the original, and it's still copy from and to, only it's just this time the from keeps staying the same. If you do copy stupid name.txt, better name.txt, and then rm, which is remove stupid name.txt, this ends up being the same thing as doing mv, just it takes multiple lines to do it. Rm will remove files. So this is the thing that deletes files. So you do have to be careful with this. There is no trash or recycling bin associated with it. Just to end things, I just want to tell you, play around with these commands. Go anywhere you like in the video and try the command just to get used to what those commands are. I think other than rm, nothing will actually break anything, so you don't have to worry about doing anything wrong on your computer. So just give it a try and start getting familiar with it so that later on when I give you commands throughout just how to compile something, there's no confusion there. That's it. Thank you.